Good afternoon. I'm calling to order the Tuesday, January 7th Trades Licensing Board meeting. You were notified electronically of the meeting minutes. If there's no objection, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Mr. Dietrich, seconded by Mr. Collins. Any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. You're right, Jim. Very good. Sorry about that. I did not take the roll, so I'm going to take the roll now. Mr. Armstrong. Here. Mr. Reeves. Here. Mr. Panitsky. Mr. Newber. Here. Mr. Dietrich. Here. Mr. Ziwi. Mr. Sessler. Mr. Schaaf. Here. Mr. Hollern. Mr. Collins. Here. Mr. Yatsko. Okay, the roll has been taken. Secretary report. A letter was mailed out on November 12th to Tony Harper, Master Electrician Holder, regarding a possible ordinance violation. Mr. Harper was asked to appear in front of the board at today's meeting. This letter was duly noted to the board. Now I'll open up the floor for public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment today?
I believe I am, sir.
Who said? I'm sorry, I didn't see who said that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you please come up to the podium?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Robert Beal. My address is 3603 Edison Avenue, Wesleyville, Pennsylvania. May I approach?
You have documents?
Yes.
Okay.
So the reason I've asked to attend this meeting is I brought along with me three fine young men that are licensed journeyman plumbers in Allegheny County. I am the master plumber in Allegheny County and 4 other states.
Wait, Bob, they can't hear you. You're going to have to go to the podium, so I'll
Yeah.
get these out for you.
And I got some pictures too.
Okay.
Thank you, Christy.
Do you have one more, or is this all you have?
I'll see what I got for you. Gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity. I'm here to beg at your mercies. Again, I'm a master plumber in 5 different states. Been plumbing, I hate to admit it, for 40 years. These are 4 of my young gentlemen that have completed with scholars, and you have in your hands a copy of their journeyman license, transcripts, and their bios. I'm basically at your mercy. I understand the ordinance says that a journeyman plumber has to be on job site, and basically I don't know what else to say other than that. I'm requesting journeyman license or journeyman exemptions, or somehow they could be licensed. You have in pictures their full bios. I have pictures of some of their workmanship. They've been trained by me and other master plumbers that have that same caliber of work. Zach has inspected several jobs we've done so far without any issues. So my question to you is, can we grant them journeyman license, or I'm not sure what to say or ask for other than I'm at your mercy, because me being on every job is quite challenging, and that's why they've been through school and their journeyman license, and they do qualified work, able to test it, et cetera, et cetera.
Who, are you the master?
I am, sir.
Okay. And how long have you had that license?
Been a master plumber since 1994.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 90s. 94 or 95, I don't recall exactly.
So,
Robert, can you say your last name again, please?
Beal.
Beal.
B-E-A-L-L. Can I introduce my team?
I don't think that'd be necessary.
Okay.
But, so you employ one journeyman plumber now?
No, I got 7 or 8 journeymen that work for me out of our main office in Pittsburgh. And then as we do larger undergrounds here, they come up here and do the installation.
Okay, but, so, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I am, don't you have an office out in Wesleyville?
Yes.
Okay. So why is it then that you haven't hired a journeyman from here rather than bring?
We are trying to.
Okay,
We're trying to. We've interviewed one. You know, being a relatively young company, it's, you know, doors aren't getting beat down yet with journeymen, and then once, you know, we're trying to put the horse in front of the cart or a cart in front of the horse. You know, we're getting the work in, we're doing quality work, and that's the summary version now. So I'm at your mercies to see if we can get an exemption and let them get inspection or whatever Mr. Zach feels appropriate, or whatever we can do to appease this board.
okay. So in other words, you're trying to hire a journeyman, you're just not having any luck?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. Well, the problem that you have here is that we don't reciprocate with Allegheny County. We did at one time, a long time ago, but we don't reciprocate with that jurisdiction, nor will they reciprocate with us. So we're not going to be able to do that, what you're asking us to do, because we have a UCC code that specifically says you have to work under a master plumber, okay, for X amount of time. I imagine that your employees, you've signed them up as apprentices, correct?
Yes, they're all licensed apprentices, and yes, they've all worked under a master plumber, and I'm a master plumber here in Erie, and they've all worked under me for way more than 4 years.
Excuse me.
Is your mic on, Doug? Thank you.
When you address us,
Yes, sir.
and I know I'm splitting hairs, but be very specific. I understand these people have licenses, the people you've brought before us.
Yes, sir.
If their licenses outside this jurisdiction, state that. If
Okay.
they're licensed with the city of Erie, state that as well.
Okay.
So when you have a license, you have a license for the city of Erie?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I'm licensed.
So you have a master's?
Yes.
Okay. And the gentleman you've brought with you,
All 4 of them are licensed apprentices in the city of Erie.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And how many of them have more than 3 years?
All of them.
Sign them all up.
Mr. Osmond with me for 10 years.
I mean, how long have they been registered? I wasn't clear, I'm sorry.
Yes, be very
How long have they been registered with the city of Erie?
Most of them at least 2 years. Christie could confirm that. I apologize for not knowing the answer exactly.
Okay. But they're not, no one's at a 4-year registration at this point.
No, sir, we haven't been open that long.
So in other words, yes,
He does have one, Travis, who is, he is eligible to take his exam in February. He'll have his 4 years in February.
That's perfect.
problem solved.
He's not in here, though.
Oh, he's not?
Travis?
Yes.
There's
No.
a Beal, a Sadler, and a Barnes.
Yeah.
Alex, Noah, and Adam.
Yes.
So,
Travis is actually off right now at work. He hurt his hand, so he's been off for 3 weeks, I think, 4 weeks.
do you expect him to come back to work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they said 6 weeks from the beginning. He had some pin put in his wrist or something.
So I think that the answer is simple here. Next month is February. Travis can put his application in to take his exam,
Okay.
okay? And you would be the verifier, so you would fill out the documents for him to take his exam. Then he takes his exam in February, which we could accept it, right, in February? And he'd be able to take his exam in March. So I think your problem's kind of solved here.
I understand, but Travis is not on every job, and I'm very fussy about who does my work.
I understand.
So I trust these young men very, very much so. That's why I brought them in front of you.
Right, and I understand that, but again, these guys are all from Allegheny County, correct?
Yes, they're all
So if you get a
licensed right now.
service call at night, these guys aren't driving up from Allegheny County to do a service call.
At times they are. At times they stay up here. If we get a lot of work, they're staying up here.
Okay. Well, does anyone else have any comments?
Unfortunately, there's no reciprocation between Allegheny County.
No.
Which would make things very simple if there was, but there's not. and it's in the fact of how it's written, unfortunately. So, I'm sure they're well capable, but, you know, we have to keep everything by the book too.
Yeah, we have to
So,
follow
you
the
know,
law. So,
And I understand that, and again, I just came begging at your mercy, and that's all I can do.
I think they're gonna end up having to test though, in the reality, just like everybody else.
I don't think none of them have a problem with the test.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
it's, yeah,
they would all sit down right now and take the test. The problem is the 4 years.
yeah.
any other questions? Okay, I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Please state your name and your address.
My name, Jeff Hampy. My address is 303 Prescott Boulevard. I'm having a little trouble trying to take the master's test, the electrical master's test for the city of Erie. The problem is the master that I worked under for 15 years passed away a year ago. I worked there at International Paper for 15 years as an industrial electrician. Steve Giewant at the time did not come down to Hammermill to do inspections. We worked under Gary Twilliger, who was an electrical engineer with the state license. 1992, I took the City of Erie journeyman test. I also have the City of Erie electrical journeyman license. I have the the Pennsylvania State through the apprenticeship through the Department of Labor state journeyman license. I also have, which I never use, but I have the universal license for refrigerants. Anyway, I can't, International Paper closed. I thought I was going to retire. They closed in 2002. I think I was the last one out the door there hitting the lights. And anyway, I have worked for the City of Erie for 5 years at a wastewater treatment plant as an electrician. I've worked for some contractors, worked at Lord's Corporation, a small stint with the Erie School District. My problem is I can't, International Paper's home office, I can't get any information on the schooling that I've had through them, through the apprenticeship program, which I started there in 1987. So I'm asking if there's some way, and I know others have done it, where I can't get I can't get a sign off on it, and I don't know if they're an acceptable technical school. Was 40 years ago. It was 85 and 86. I was at Erie Institute of Technology, but I don't know if that matters. But the majority of my schooling was through the apprenticeship program at International Paper, and then other schools on top of that through International Paper, Allen Bradley, GE, 2-week in-house schools over and over again. So what I'm up here asking is I need to take this master's test. I want to take the master's test. Just going back 40 years, I'm 61 years old. That's probably not a common age of taking a master's test. But I want to take the test. I just don't know how, talking to Andy Zimmerman and Christie, Miss Christie, who says, to talk to before the board, which is the way to go. So what I'm asking is what it would take with the experience. I've been electrician since 1987 was when I started in industry. I've worked for a couple contractors. One that we don't have a very good relationship, and he doesn't sign off on anybody's.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yes.
Did you say that you had a city journeyman's electrician license?
Since 1992.
Is it
yes.
current?
Oh, yeah. I took the test at Gannon. Every year I pay. Yeah, it's very current. It's just my paperwork on the application is the problem, not my experience and my time. The problem is the paperwork. sign off. I worked for a master electrician at International Paper. I worked under him and the engineer there. He passed away a year ago.
Mr. Hampe,
sir.
excuse me. Based on what you're telling me, you're within your rights to apply to take that test.
Okay.
When you fill out that application, we would have visual evidence of what it is you've done and what it is you need to do. I mean, I enjoy a good conversation as much as the next person, but I can't analyze what you're telling me to a checklist that says you meet the minimum requirements.
I'm sure
to
I
do
meet the
that.
minimum requirements over and above, but the problem is proving it is the problem.
And we're much like you're having that difficulty. I could not sit here and honestly say you do or do not deserve the right to sit for that unless I can paper trail it. So until you apply,
All right.
as
So,
a sitting
I'm-
journeyman with the city, I don't see any reason why you can't apply to take the masters at this point.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry?
He doesn't have a verifier, that's his only problem. He has his year, but he doesn't have a verifier to sign
On the, yep, okay.
Exactly. At that, then getting the records of, I think there's hours of education. I'm not sure if that was just on the journeyman part of it, but I know, I don't know, I haven't filled that application out since '92, and I don't know what all that pertains as far as education-wise goes. The work experience, the hours, thousands of hours over what's qualified to take the master's test is, I don't want to get caught up in bureaucracy or whatever the word is. You know, I just want to be able to fill out the application, state that I can't get the verifier signature due to him passing away. Gary Twilliger, the engineer there, is 78 years old and moved to New York to work for a paper mill company there. And I was unable for last year to get a hold of him. And not even sure if he even qualifies as a sign-off verifier, because, you know, we worked under him as far as for Steve Giewant, not to inspect everything that we did there or contractors did there. He just didn't come there. It worked. It was under our plant engineer, electrical engineer.
May I ask you a question? And you don't have to answer this question if you
Sure.
don't want to. Well, why now do you want to get that master license?
I'm actually retired, semi-retired.
Okay,
I was able to do that at 60. I want to do it because I want to form a small company, and I have a couple of young guys that I'd like to work with and have them work under me. That's why I want to take the test.
I see.
Retirement isn't all what it cracked up to be, especially if you're a single guy and live alone. Grandkids are in school, all that. You know, it was okay for a couple months, but then I'm like, man, I'm going stir crazy. So you know, I'm sure this is something I'm probably going to do. You know, till the day that the man upstairs calls on me. But I'll probably always have my hands in it somehow.
Okay. Well, I think the bottom line, and this goes back to what Mr. Armstrong said, is that you need to have a verifier. If you have a verifier, you can fill out the application for
I have no
review.
verifier.
I know that's a problem, but
I have no verifier because he passed away. I don't, does everything really have to go to court with the board?
well,
I mean, come on.
we
Really?
we have to follow the law.
This is the law. I'm telling you, I got 40 years in this field. I have my city license in '92 and have proof of working there. I have no sign-off. I have no verifier. And the guy that I work for, that's a electrical contractor, we don't speak, and I can't ask him, and he won't do it.
I got a question.
do
Was
we
he,
really
was he,
have
a-
to-
sorry to interrupt you, was he a master electrician, the guy you
Yeah.
work for the
Yeah.
city of Erie?
Yes.
Well, he should sign off on you
Well,
if
he
you were
won't.
working for him.
He won't. He won't, because things didn't end well.
Okay.
He was, you know, this contractor I had to, when I left there, contacted Sam Satania to tell him about the non-permit polling and everything that's going on. I don't want to get into that. What I want to get into is my master's, taking my master's test. I mean, does everything really have to go to court? Does it really have to go to court? I understand that.
Well, this isn't a court. We're just,
Pardon me?
this is not a court.
I understand it's
Yeah.
not a court, but you're almost forcing my hand to take the city to court. I don't want to do that. And you're like this, thinking that that's okay with you.
That's not okay. I mean, it's up to you if you want to do that.
I don't-
That's within your rights to do so, if you
Do
feel
you
that.
understand what I'm saying as far as the experience and the time I have and how long I've had my journeyman's license, and you act like none of that has anything, none of that is worth its salt for me to take that test. I've worked under master. He's probably, you could probably look it up, that he worked there for over 30 years as a master electrician at the same time that I did. So they were, before I took back when I was taking the test, they were the board handed out master license to each other like they were dealing a card. Nobody took a test, including the contractor that I worked for. And then you guys are up here, forgive me because I'm getting a little angry right now, because I earned this. And I have it coming to me. And not for you or anybody else to tell me no, because of a verifier passing away. Can't bring him back from the dead.
Okay, well, I believe what you're saying, okay? That you've been an electrician for 40 years. So
Licensed electrician since
surely
92.
you would know someone who's a master electrician, yes?
Yeah,
So,
know lots of them.
okay, well, could you get that person to be a verifier for you?
Yeah, I think my friend, Johnny Carr, we worked at Hammermill together.
I guess my
Car
point is this,
electric.
if you could get them to do that for you,
For them to be a verifier?
yes,
I
and
thought
then
it
you
was
can,
that-
and then you can show your work history to us, and you have a verifier, I don't see any problem with you being able to take the exam.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I thought it was somebody that I had to work under.
Well, did you work
I
under
worked with him. Huh?
Did you work under the employ of a master electrician in your career? That's what the rules
Yes, I
say.
have, but the one that I worked for that's alive, that I worked under, will not sign it. He will not.
And he's a master with the city of Erie?
Yeah, but he had his handed to him, like a lot of the other ones did back in the day, before they decided to, let's make ourselves all masters and let's corner the market in the electrical field. I'm just up here explaining what I have coming to me, what I've earned.
Right,
You know,
understood.
there's master electricians that I know that never took the test and shouldn't even have their master's license right now.
What
They
I
were
would do-
handed it off.
What I recommend for you to do is get a verifier and get the application and fill it out,
All
okay?
right.
And then put documentation in with your application that shows your work history, that proves that you worked under a master electrician.
Okay, I do, but there's no way for you to prove it. He's dead.
Right.
You get a
Okay, but I
verifier.
have another master that I used to work with that we worked on jobs together, but I didn't work under his license. We worked, when Hammermill shut down and when we were working at Hammermill, we did jobs on the side. John Carr, Carr Electric.
Okay.
We worked together off and on, but I never put him as my employer. We worked together on it. So
Okay, well.
I just don't, it seems like they're just, if everything's not just perfect, and things aren't always perfect, you refuse someone. And I'm probably one of the last persons that deserves to be sent away saying, sorry, you got no verifier that you worked under.
Sir, we don't even have an application in front of us.
I understand
You know what I'm
that.
saying? We're not trying to make it
I'm
hard.
not wasting my time
Yeah.
doing it. I'm gonna put my application, give it to you guys, and then be denied and go another month or two to try and straighten all this out. I don't wanna do. I'll fill out the application, and if it gets turned down, then I'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you for your time. Is there any other public comment today? Any other public comment? Being that there's none, the public comment section is closed. We'll move on to correspondence. Edward Foran requested a one-time license in December. The board requested additional information regarding how the company planned to obtain licensed plumbers. A response was received and forwarded to the board. Mr. Foran still wants to submit his one-time application. I don't know if everyone saw that email. Again, this is in reference to the project at the Renaissance Building.
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't see it. I didn't see the email.
That's right.
Has he reached out to local representation?
Not to my knowledge. In the email, he says that he's going to hire a licensed journeyman direct from either the Union Hall or another way, how we can do it. I don't know what that means really good.
Wouldn't he need some type of documentation saying that he's reached out to the local union to hire?
Maybe
those?
maybe that's what he's meaning there, is that's his intention.
Well, he's also talking about subcontracting it to a local licensed contractor, so he could have reached out to, I did see this.
Yeah.
Potentially reached out to a sub.
Sure.
Well,
I mean,
he can sub this out to a licensed contractor, or he can hire licensed people. But the second part of that, he'd still want a one-time license in place to hold out over here. I'm not in favor of issuing a one-time license for somebody not definitive on a project or a duration or anything else with that. Here, just give me a license, I'll use it when I want it.
well, we can make it specific for that project.
But he doesn't have that intent here.
I think if he does have an intent, maybe if he does hire local people, this code enforcement verifies that they're all licensed with the city, something like that.
I mean, I don't have an issue if it's specific to that project.
I agree, I don't either.
But there's gonna be strings attached to that because we don't wanna have a situation, there's been a couple of times where people got a one-time license and then they got people working that don't have a license underneath them.
Oh, yeah.
So I
A
think.
lot, that happens a lot.
Yeah, so I think to avoid that, if it's specific to the job and it's known to him that if the inspector, the plumbing inspector, finds someone working underneath that license without a license on the project, then it's revoked. I think that's
What do you think?
a pretty fair.
I think that's fair.
And then he would cease and desist on that project.
Correct. He would the license would be forfeited and the permit would be invalid. Correct?
And probably a stop work permit too?
Yeah,
Can they do that?
that's what
That's
would
all
happen
code
first.
enforcement, yeah. I think that's fair. What do you guys think? Anybody?
I'm sorry?
He's a licensed plumber in Florida.
We don't know that.
He said he didn't even want to bid it until he knew that he could get a license. I believe that's what he said in the,
Yeah,
Somehow he has a relationship with the owner, that developer. That's the way I understood it.
but he's applying for a one-time license. So
One
he
time.
can only use this on one job.
And then we subjugate that to the contract, this is one time for that project.
But this guy will only get a one-time,
Yeah, it'd be
Permit.
specific to that job, one time only.
and this is the only time he can get one, correct, according to the ordinance, or no?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Like, even if he doesn't get the job, he can't come back and correct.
Is this him on Zoom?
No,
No.
It's Big Brother.
they were on Zoom in December.
Yeah, I think so. I'd make a
Are you
motion.
making a motion to grant it?
I would, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Mr. Reeves makes a motion to grant the one-time license specific to the Renaissance Building. And that is contingent on licensed people working on the job.
At all times.
Yes, correct.
Touch and plumbing.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Collins. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Mr. Armstrong opposes. Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. Under new business, we have some applications to review. The first one is, I don't know if I printed a copy of that. No. The first one is Michael Martin for a, is that a it's a master electrician. What master does he, I don't have that printout. What? What master is he employed by?
He works for Trinity Electric.
Trinity?
Yes, Brantley Martin holds a City of Erie master license.
Oh, he must be related, right? So he's 2021 to current on the journeyman. Wouldn't that put him into this year being eligible? Do you know what,
He's eligible now.
right now? Can we look through, can you scroll through his verifier, please?
I don't think I got this one. Did you send this out, Christie? I don't think nobody has it.
It was before, Fort Holidays.
Oh, that's probably why I missed
It may
it.
have been the date of our last meeting now.
I understand.
I don't see it.
Scroll up again. It was from 12/17.
You want to see the verifier page?
That's all the verifier. It's, B Martin signed.
Came
That's
up as
the
a
master,
document,
yeah.
not as a applicant.
Yes, he holds a city master's license. I don't see any issue.
He has proper schooling and all that. Okay.
He already, hold the master, and has already taken the master exam for, well, in New York.
Okay.
He already has a master, he already has taken the exam.
Okay, well, I make a motion to approve this application.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Reeves. Any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Next is Aaron Teed. Mr. Teed put his application in last month, but he had a problem with his verifier, which he has since corrected, because there was another email sent out with his verifier page corrected.
This one?
you
Yeah, I
were
was just gonna say, what was the issue?
I don't remember that.
The verifier that he had was, it was your previous employer, correct? It was his previous employer, because he couldn't get a hold of Mr. Pagel, but he has since got a hold of Mr. Pagel, who was the master for his current employer.
He has all this time, so.
I wasn't here last month. Can I ask an elementary question?
Absolutely.
Aaron, you can come up with what it was.
You were here last month?
No,
No?
he was not here, his application was
Okay.
submitted last.
And it was denied because the verifier's form was not complete?
It was complete. It didn't match up with I worked with Bob 15, 20 years ago. So I didn't have any proof that I worked at the same company that he worked at then. That's why they had me get the other verifier.
Yeah, he gave us exactly what we asked him to do. Yep.
He makes all the checks.
Any more questions for Mr. Teed? Well, I'll make the motion to approve his application. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Dietrich. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Next is Shamarian Spain. That one I do have. Is this a journeyman application? Yeah. So technically, he's eligible in March.
March. Just out of curiosity, is there a reason why we're looking at it early? Or is it kind of a couple months? Because we can approve it to
We can
be
approve it.
valid for March.
We can approve it for March.
Yeah, yeah, I was just curious.
We can do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me.
His verifier signed this March 24.
Oh, yeah. I see that. How long are they good for, Christie?
I'm sorry?
Like an application, he signed that 3/28/24.
Right.
Is there like,
Because, Mr. Sting completed one of the technical schools,
okay,
so he thought that he had, the time that he had through technical school would be, take his other 2 years, and then once I told him it didn't, then he had already had his application in.
okay,
Yeah, because he'll have the right amount of time
right.
in March.
I was just had a question for that.
Because he had completed the technical school.
Is there like a maximum time frame?
Is there a statute of
That's what I
limitations
meant.
on the signatures
On the
on
dates.
these?
There is not,
That's what I thought.
but he, currently still works for this employer.
Yeah. He did verify, so I didn't know if there was a statute of limitations on the dates. I'll make a motion to approve it.
There's a motion made, is there a second?
Today or?
Seconded by Mr. Collins.
On the speculations of March.
Oh, yeah, on the, March being
Conditions.
the condition is March, he's eligible.
Eligible date, yes.
Mr. Collins seconded.
Mr. Collins seconded that, if you didn't hear me, Christie. Any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. Last thing we have here, because we took care of the review of the other one in the old business section. Sam Savage for a one-time master's license. Would you like, you can come up if you'd like, sir. Sure. Just state your name, please.
Samuel Savage, master electrician.
Okay. So, this is in reference to the Avalon Hotel building, is that correct?
That is correct.
And there was an active permit there from a master electrician, is that also correct?
Yes, I had hired a master electrician out of the Union Hall, but he and I kept having some differences, so he decided to back out. So I was informed by Inspector Steve that I could apply for a one-time a one-time permit. So that's the route I decided to go.
Okay, so when did that individual go out of your employ?
November, I can't say the exact date, I know it was just prior to Thanksgiving, but it was late November. He started in October and worked through November.
So the permit was invalidated?
The permit was pulled, I would say the first week of December.
No, actually, I think it was pulled like somewhere around the 16th, the 15th or the 16th of October.
So at that point where the permit was invalidated, that would be a work stoppage, yes?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Well, this question is for her, I'm sorry. I wasn't clear about that. So at the time that the permit was invalidated, they were given a work stoppage, correct?
Work should have been stopped, as I spoke to, when the master electrician contacted me to let me know that he wanted to void his permit, I did contact Mr. Savage and let him know that since the permit was pulled, that there was no work to be done.
And is that the case?
Yes, that's the case. No work was done. That's when she notified me. I came and that's when I put in the application for a one-time permit.
So that permit was invalidated when in December?
I'm going to find out.
Okay. So I thought you might have gotten the answer.
Excuse me, just so we're all clear. So you didn't receive a permit for that project. You hired a master who pulled the permit for
I
that
hired the
project.
master on my payroll, and my company pulled the permit.
You were here before, right?
Yes, I was here January 6th of last year.
Of last year, that's what I
right.
thought.
That's when you guys allowed me to get my journeyman's. but you said I still had to have a master, so that's when I went through Local 56 and spoke with Mr. Newber, and he had got me, I believe his name was David Hertz, I believe it was, and we just had some discrepancies. And at the time, I went back to Mr. Newber and asked him if he had someone else. But the other person that he had that was a master, he said that he was working out of state or working out of town, so he would not be able to come and work for me. I in turn put in an application on Indeed to try to find a master, but due to the time constraint of this project, and it has to continue to go, I spoke with Mr. Steve. I didn't get his last name, but he was an inspector, like I guess one of the head inspectors here. And he told me to go and ask for a one-time permit, and he said that he was going to speak with Sam, the electrical inspector, in regards to it.
So, work has stopped completely?
Yes, work has stopped.
Okay.
Completely. No work has been done since she notified me, and I spoke with Mr. Dave, who is now my ex-employee.
Okay. If you don't mind, could you take a seat real quick? Because I'm going to ask some other questions of
Sure.
other people.
The permit was pulled
12/4. So basically a month ago. Okay. Mr. Santana, do you want to comment on this project? And
So I don't know a lot about the work. There's 3 contractors on site. I don't know a lot about the work for Mr. Savage. I do know that I met Mr. Hyde there, who was the master holder. I don't know the date. It all kind of runs together. He took me up to the 8th floor, and I was a little bit confused because the work he had was for sub-panels in the 1st floor in the basement. I know David from working in the trades with him. He seemed very nervous around me, and I was kind of wondering what this was about. And when I got up to the 8th floor, I noticed that the cabling was, it was ran pretty shoddy. It had 0 supports on it at all. There were things being done that I questioned on why is this happening, because it doesn't make any sense electrically. Mr. Hyde couldn't answer those questions. Again, he seemed very nervous. So I said, okay, you've got to get with the guys. This has got to be corrected. We have to have, this is not going to fly. And so he said, okay, I'll do that before we proceed with any more inspections. I later found out that he decided to quit, is what I was told. I don't know if he got fired or if he quit. Either way, I heard he left. I heard that he was unhappy because he was being asked to have work inspected that he did not do, guys he worked with didn't do. I was told these were laborers. 2 of our property maintenance inspectors stopped down later on. Christy could tell you when. They said that they found work being done by laborers, I believe. Zach Kindle and I stopped right before we got here, and there were guys pulling cabling up on the 6th floor, I believe it was. Now, these guys were laborers, I think. They worked for a company. Give me 1 second here. So I took a couple pictures while I was there. ITDG. Now, they told me and Zach that they were only going floor to floor. The cables were already there and already coiled up. They're getting them off the floor because people are driving over or walking over or what have you. They claimed to only be running in the 20 feet and dumping them in the electric room, is what it looked like to me. I took pictures and then we came to the meeting. I did not speak to Mr. Savage. I haven't spoke to anybody else on site, only those 2 guys. That's
Okay.
about all I know.
so, in your opinion, or even the plumbing inspector who was there too, can answer this question. From the time that the permit was invalidated till now, is cabling going on on that job?
I think it's pretty safe to say yes, because when I was there, what would have been like 2 months ago, half the 8th floor was done. I've been to the 8th floor. I was told by Aaron that I think the 7th floor had wiring done. I witnessed the 6th floor today had wiring done, and the guys told us we could stop at the 5th floor and we would notice the same thing. The 2 guys that we saw pulling the cable. So I'm saying 8 through 5 at least has already been rewired. Now, I can't tell you who did it, I wasn't on site, I can't tell you when it was done. I can only say that when I was there, would roughly be, I could get you exact dates, but I think it's roughly a couple months ago, only half the 8th floor was done.
So they basically defiantly wired two floors without a permit.
I can only give you the facts that I've witnessed. I can't tell you if those were done. I can say this. I can say this confidently. I am unaware of any permit ever for any work above the first floor. And so I guess you could answer that question as a yes, because I think the permits we have, and Christy could confirm, are for panels. And then there is a permit for UPMC on the first floor from another contractor. I do not see anything in any permits or anything that said that wiring of the rooms was part of it.
Interesting. So, the person on Zoom here, is this, who?
That's Brandon, he's the GC. Brandon, you can unmute yourself if you want to speak.
Do you still need me?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Brandon Eman. I am the general contractor and the developer of the project. I'm also a master electrician in multiple states all across the country as well. About 2 years ago, I reached out to you guys in regards to getting licensed myself. The way that your guys' structure is set up, it wasn't really going to be a reality based upon the time frame for the job. I then started contacting both local and surrounding area electrical contractors in order to perform the job for us. I was able to come to an agreement with Mr. Savage, and I do these things all over the country, everything like that. The biggest complication I had is I'm from the state of Arizona, which I hold a IBEW journeyman license there. But our state doesn't offer master licenses through the union hall. The only master license, the equivalent of it is a electrical contractor's license that's done through the state, not the hall itself. So in order for me to be able to establish the masters through the union hall, it would have been a little more scrutiny based upon what my state allows. And like I said, that's where we went in the other direction to use Mr. Savage's services.
I'm going to stop you for 1 second, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm really having a hard time hearing him.
Yeah, he's like echoing. I
yeah.
heard a lot of it, but
I'm sorry, so we're just having a hard time hearing you.
Okay. I apologize. I tried to be there for you guys today. All of my flights were canceled based upon weather. Is that any better?
That's better, yes.
Okay. Like I said, so the state of Arizona does not have master licenses in the union halls. We the highest licensing that they issue is journeyman, which wouldn't be the equivalent for the way your guys' infrastructure is set up. And we decided to go with Mr. Savage's services in order to be able to establish licensing and have him perform the work. I'm also developer over the entire project overall. We're involved with the UPMC project from an ownership standpoint and also from a development standpoint. This is the first that I've heard that the rooms was not put onto the permit. That's confusing to me, and I'll have to try and get that cleared up and address that as proactively as I can. From what I understand, the plans were submitted based upon our approved set of plans in order to have this permit issued itself. I know that the city does have different types of ways that they can pull the permit, and I'm not sure if maybe they pulled it differently based upon a time constraint in order to try and get us in the building and work faster. But I pulled all the guys off of that job electrically wise after the issuance of the permit being pulled. The men just returned yesterday to the job site. And it may have been premature, but it was based upon, I was under the impression that this meeting was to be had yesterday. And they're moving everything out of the way of the corridors, everything like that. We experienced some damaged wires for the drywall and the taping and texturing that's going on. But it's innovative stance and Mr. Savage's stance. I've done a couple of projects with him before. We are wholeheartedly trying to do the right thing, and we are wholeheartedly trying to cross all the boxes and check all the boxes that you guys need. And I'm more than willing to provide you guys with any and everything in order to make this successful for all of us around. And by no means is anybody trying to disrespect your guys' territory and or your city and their statutes. Like we spent a lot of time researching the statutes and researching the avenues in which to approach this, and we thought that going through the Union Hall with the master was the best solution. And I believe my take of it is there was some personality conflicts that was going to end up costing the gentleman in front of you a lot more money than what was necessary. And therefore they had a falling out based upon it.
Would you be able to elaborate on that a little bit more?
From what I understand, he was trying, from what I've gotten from my superintendent that's on the job site, is he was trying to load the job. He was pushing the superintendent for scheduling and pushing him for this in order to get more men called out from the hall. And we had some pacing going on based upon me selecting a plumbing contractor and everything, and we had the time, and it wasn't something that we wanted to push. And in my experience with a lot of things, there's always cash and chaos when you load something up and it's not wholeheartedly set up and structured for it right off the get-go. It ends up causing a little bit of chaos and ends up costing more money. We try to take a more professional and controlled approach to things when we do things.
So your position is you're the project manager, is that correct?
I'm the project manager. I'm a qualifying party for Innovative as well, yes.
Okay. So my question to you is the 8th floor and the 7th floor and the 6th floor, who wired those? Who wired those?
That was a group effort between the gentleman before and Standfast. Mr. Savage actually got some apprenticeships done for the gentlemen that are out there, and I didn't want to lose those guys based upon a complication with permitting, and I actually picked them up in order to keep them employed and keep them going, doing odds and ends. They've been changing out like some doors. They've been putting in some door hardwares for sampling. They assisted with mobilizing all of the cabinets inside of the room, so on and so forth. And then I sent them home about a week before Christmas, and then they were brought back yesterday.
Now, when you say apprentices, do you mean a registered electrical apprentice?
Correct.
Registered with?
He crossed all of his T's and dotted his I's. He made sure he had them all registered, everything like that.
With the city of Erie, yes?
Correct.
And how many of these individuals are there?
2 or 3 would be able to, or I'm sorry, Mr. Savage would be able to verify that, though.
You may.
Okay. From my staff, it was 2 apprentices, which they are actually journeymen back in Michigan, but they had to get their apprenticeship here.
I understand.
And it was 3, which are actually journeymen in Arizona, but we had to get them apprentice cars here. So everyone that did anything, oh, I'm sorry, anything as far as electrical, they were registered. Me and Ms. Williams, Ms. Williams made sure that all that was in place, and I made sure that all was in place as
So-
well.
So,
That's only,
go ahead.
that's only part of the equation. It doesn't suffice to have an apprenticeship license. You have to work under the tutelage of a journeyman, and he has to be under a master. So for you to have apprentices there that aren't under a journeyman or a master, that doesn't work.
That's where my question was going. Are you actively working on that job site yourself?
Yes.
So in other words, you would be supervision of
Yes.
those?
Yes, honestly speaking, I'm back and forth, okay, because I'm actually working in 3 different states, okay? But yes, Dave, I can't remember his last name, but he was the master on the project. He was there every day on the project, even when I wasn't there. When I came in, he still was there.
Okay, well, even if you did get granted a one-time license, you still have to have journeymen on the job. You can't just load the job up with apprentices unsupervised. And that's how our code is written.
So
I don't
basically
know.
what you're saying is that we have to hire, usually the ratio is, well, back home, the ratio is 1 journeyman to apprentices. So is that how is saying you want us to do this?
Well, our state standard is different, I'm sure, than yours. Our state standard is 3 journeymen and 1 apprentice. But
No, 3 apprentices to 1 journeyman.
On-
You said it backwards.
4 to 1, 4 journeymen.
Oh, 4 journeymen to 1, oh, okay.
Yes.
For commercial,
Com-
okay.
is it 4 to 1 or 3 to 1? 4 to 1.
The state is 4 to 1.
What does the book say?
It says, a master or journeyman may not supervise more than 3 apprentices on a residential project. On a commercial project, that's what I was looking for, is different.
Residential's 3 to 1. Yeah.
1 to 1 on commercial and 3 to 1 on apprentice.
What's that?
It says 1 to 1 on commercial.
Okay.
So it's 1 to 1.
All right, you're right. So a master or journeyman may not supervise more than 1 apprentice on a commercial project. So it's 1 to 1.
It's 1 to 1.
That's the city ordinance. The state is 4 to 1. But the ordinance prevails.
Yes, that would be correct. The ordinance would prevail. So I guess my question to you is how do you intend to correct that? Because they have to have supervision.
Okay, well, me being a journeyman here, I can be 1,
Okay?
okay?
While
And
you're on that project, though.
exactly. I will be 1 that's on the project, okay? Then I guess I will have to go through the union to get another journeyman,
Okay.
okay? So that'll be, but basically that still kind of beats the odds because that's only 2 apprentices, which they are technically journeymen, but you guys are not acknowledging that. So,
Well, and let me interrupt you if I could, Mr. Savage. We are sitting in a pretty good position in regards to the electric, and if you go 2 to 2, the other manpower can be removed. I mean, the plumbing is well far further behind than the electrical is there, and I feel as if we could either make some more relationships with the hall in order to find the right journeyman in order to get them out there, and we can send the apprentices back as needed as well.
okay.
But we can get their ratio corrected overnight. The biggest problem that we have is the destiny of the permit.
Christy, do you have something that you want to?
Any of the journeymen either from Michigan or Arizona, are they union?
No,
No.
no. I'm the only union.
I hold an IBEW card out of Local 570 in Tucson, Arizona as well.
There was a permit in place, is that correct?
Correct.
And the permit was in place for doing panel work or for the entirety of this project? So that's the extent of the permit that's been pulled. So all the additional work that's being drywalled over has not been inspected?
Technically, no. And the reason
Well,
being.
it's either yes or no. There's no technical.
Okay,
about
no.
it.
Okay, no.
Okay.
All right. Now, the thing is, it was an oversight, and this is an oversight on me. When I came in and did the permits, I did not put down for the branch circuits. When Ms. Williams contacted me back in November, because Sam had went to her, because he had some questions about what was going on. She asked me to email her a scope of work that was being done. I emailed her the scope of work that was being done, and I told her that following week I would be there to go ahead and add all the branch circuits onto the permit. That's when the big snowstorm came and everything was shut down. When everything got started back up from the big snowstorm, that's when me and my master that I had working for me had our discrepancy. So therefore, when he pulled out of it, of course, that voided the permit. So I could not add to it at that point. But I was going to come in and add those branch circuits in. I think Ms. Williams would tell you, I sent the email and I also verbally told her, I said I would be there on Monday. But that Sunday night is when the big snowstorm came and the city was shut down for 3 days.
And I would like to also add that no work has been concealed or covered.
Okay.
I'm a little confused.
Absolutely none.
I'm a little confused. Maybe one of you can clarify this. The registered apprentices work for whom? Do they work for you or do they work for Mr. Savage?
Myself.
Okay.
And I do see this one-time application does have the installation of 397 branch circuits. The original permit didn't include those branch circuits.
Right, correct.
So was that for a one-time permit then, the first time? What was the first time? Yeah, was that for master? The first time?
I believe Mr. Eman did. Brandon Eman, who's on? Yes, I believe he pulled the permit.
Brandon, did you pull the building permit on this project?
Which permit?
The building permit.
Yes, I did. It's under Innovative Technology and Development Group.
He's right in the middle of doing this project, and he
Normally, on a
doesn't have a
building permit,
master's.
you have to state who your plumber is, who your electrician is, you know, HVAC, you have to state that.
I think
in the permit.
my
That's
big
why I
problem
was
too
wondering
is like,
what
if
they
they're
put on the
rewiring
building
floors, has anybody even
When
called
this
Sam
was
and said,
started.
hey man, what do I gotta do?
originally.
Or they're just wiring shit up without a permit, is what's going on, right?
We actually called out for an inspection for the entire 8th floor.
Oh.
We've had a consult with the inspector after they pulled the permit.
Is that correct, Sam?
Yeah, that's where I caught the wiring is going out. I got called out to look at something in the basement. He said, can you come up and look at the 8th floor? And that's when I went up there and noticed the wiring was going on. But notice that the permit fee didn't represent the count. That's when I reached out and said, I don't think this
that
is
makes
a
sense.
permit. And when I did ask Mr. Hyde, I did say, who's doing this work? Because I was kind of tiptoeing around, why is he so nervous? Why does this stuff look like this? And he did say that, he goes, well, the guy said that their inspectors are a lot less lenient, and they said that you'd be fine with whatever it is. And I said, there's Not one support on the gate, not one.
We said, excuse me, at the time when he came, he wasn't coming for a branch circuit permit. They were still pulling, on the 8th floor, they were still pulling cable. They hadn't strapped things down at that point. He wasn't coming for a branch circuit or an open wall inspection. He was coming for, basically, for the setting of the transformer, because we installed transformers, we set panels.
Sub-panels.
Right, so that was technically the reason why he called for that permit. Okay, so at that time, no, there was not the strapping or anything, because they were still pulling MC cable.
Okay. But you're saying that the way the permit was filed was an error on your part? Is that what you're saying?
It was an oversight on my end, not putting in for the branch circuits.
Was that originally part of the project, the branch circuits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Branch circuits, transformers, and sub panels.
Okay.
I think he needs a master.
Have you tried to get another master electrician?
Yes, I have. I spoke with Mr. Newber. He said he was going to try to find me one, but the one that he knew was out of town working. I, in turn, tried to go on Indeed to try to find someone. But with the time frame and the job, having to keep going, we couldn't find one in time. Again, when I was here, I can't call the exact date, but the date that whatever the date that is, that's on the application for the one-time permit, that's the day that I spoke with Mr. Steve, because they were doing a walkthrough to make sure that there was no work going on, because I actually was here down to the city building when I got a phone call saying that the inspectors was walking through. I went back around the corner and I spoke with Mr. Steve personally. He said, well, have you tried to do a one-time permit? I said, I didn't know that was, even possible. He said, well, yes. He said, do that, and I would go and talk with Sam. I said, okay, fine. And that's exactly what I did. Everything that we was instructed to do, we've done it, including stop work. None of my guys have even been in town to pull any more cables.
So how do you plan on moving forward? Like, are you going to hire journeymen, or what?
That's what I
what's your
just stated,
plan?
that me and Mr. Eman just stated. If we have to go through the union to get journeymen that's licensed here, then we will oblige that. That's not an issue at all. We would do that. Just like it was stated to me that I needed to have a master, that's what I did.
Any proposals?
Just for clarification, you do currently hold masters in several other jurisdictions?
I hold master.
You personally?
Me personally, yes.
Oh, thanks.
I do as
Thank
well.
you. What's your thoughts?
My biggest hangup is the supervision thing.
I agree.
I mean, I even reached out to Nuco Electric and spoke with Ed over at Nuco. He came down to ask to look at the permit, look at the plans. He was denied to look at the plans. So with him being denied to look at the plans, he said that he couldn't move forward with, because we had even talked about possibly going joint venture to try to do it. But
Who denied him looking at the plans?
I don't know. But he told me that someone said that he couldn't look at the plans because they didn't have permission from the owner.
We couldn't legally let him see the plans without permission from Brandon. And then when I spoke to Brandon over the holiday, that's when he stated that they were going to go ahead with the one-time license. So there was no need to go into that venture. But when I spoke to Andy, and I think I spoke to Sam about it as well, we can't legally just let anyone see plans without permission from the GC.
Right, I was just unclear who said no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I reached out
And in all honesty, they should have reached out to me for those electronic plans. They shouldn't have even really bothered you guys with those electronic plans, and those were sent to them since then as well.
Right, and I understand that because those plans are your property. And
Correct.
That's the right way to do it.
And the city of Erie was doing the responsible thing. Christy contacted me immediately upon it, and I did give her permission, but they should have reached out to me. So I think it was just protocol being put in place and correct.
Right. Well, doesn't working with NUCO solve your problem though? Since NUCO.
I haven't spoken with Ed since prior to the holiday. Once he said that he was denied the plans, that's when me and Mr. Eman spoke, and I told him I had put in for the application for the one-time permit, because at the same time we still have a budget that we're trying to stay within. Okay.
And that's the main reason for my involvement as of right now is the gentleman has really done to try to do everything that he can, all the way down to taking the loss in front of me. And I want to be here to support him and help him monetarily and on the job site as well, and with you guys as well. Yeah, because he really has stepped up in order to do the right thing.
I think everybody's aware now of what the expectations are as far as the ratio, permitting, all that stuff. Covered a lot of ground here. Sounds like everybody's on the same page. I think it's just whether or not we grant the one-time application, and I would make a motion that we do.
I'm going to amend Todd's motion. There needs to be guardrails on this if he gets the one-time license. And that means that, we can sit here and say that we're going to have the right ratio and that, but that needs to be compliant. I mean,
Contingent on
yeah.
journeyman being hired.
My point being is that if a good faith effort's not made in doing that, then it's just going to be a revocation, and that's it.
In all due respect, sir, there has not been one thing that you guys have told me I need to comply by. Be it being in your face or behind your back. There's not been one thing that you guys have actually
I'm not
complied
suggesting
by.
that you did. What I'm
Okay.
saying is, if you were to get that, it's got to be above board. Like, we can't have 4 apprentices working by themselves, because you leave and go to another job in
That's
Michigan.
that's why me and Mr. Eman just said that we will go to the union. Do you agree, Mr. Eman?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I
Their
would give
ratio
Mr.
is 1-to-1. We need to abide by their territorial rules.
Exactly.
In the ratio.
Which means that I will reach out to Mr. Newber, and we would get the journeyman on site that is needed to keep this job moving forward.
I think, Mr. Savage, too, it's like, I've been in the trades for a while, and I think the biggest thing everybody's worried about is like just people showing up on these jobs and, nobody knows who it is. And I think communication with code enforcement of, what apprentices, what journeymen are on site, I think would be very helpful too, because we don't know. Nobody knows, like, really who's up there on the 8th floor working or who, we just don't know. And I think communication's a big thing,
And me and Mr. Savage need to do a better job with that with you guys. In my experience, journeymen, masters even, that I've had, that they're kind of intimidated by this setting and the code officials. And sometimes they don't want to say the wrong thing or anything else like that, and so on and so forth. And it can come off of something other than what it is. But I have zero problems giving you guys time cards, whatever it is, in order to show that ratio, and in order for you guys to feel confident about it. And we will make that commitment. And I will also make Mr. Savage whole based off of that commitment as well. You know, I don't want this gentleman to be hurt any more than what he has been.
Yes, and my office don't have a problem with, sending over a timesheet report through Intuit QuickBooks. It would show his journeymen being on my payroll. It would show the apprentices being on my payroll. So my office does not have a problem with producing that information as the job progresses.
Okay, well, there is a motion on the floor by Mr. Dietrich. I amended that to make sure that there's transparency. As you all heard, we need to follow the rules on the ratio. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Reeves seconds the motion for the one-time license.
That also can be revoked if,
Yeah, and compliance is,
just like the last one we
right, there
did.
needs to be compliance on.
Compliances will, and if there's no compliance, then the permit will be revoked.
Correct. So there's a motion made and seconded.
Can I ask a question? I don't want to keep dragging this out.
Is
but-
there any questions on the motion?
Yes, there is. I just want to make sure we're not shooting ourselves in the foot here, because this Ed Foran that we just gave a approval, if he hires a master, I just want to make sure I understand, are we giving Mr. Savage a one-time?
We gave Mr. Foran a one-time.
Okay.
A one-time, not a master's.
We didn't
Just a
give him a
one-time.
master's
We
license.
gave him a one-time.
We gave him a one-time permit.
This will be
Just like
one-time.
this situation.
Just like this situation.
Okay, because both these jobs are high profile for the city, Renaissance and the Avalon.
know.
And you guys are from out of town, and we're happy that you're here to help grow our economy and everything, but I just want to make sure we're in line with what we're doing on both of them, that's all.
Yeah,
So,
these situations are similar.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
So is there any other questions on the motion? Any other questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Mr. Armstrong opposes, Mr. Yatsko. Any abstentions?
Aye.
Mr. Newber abstains. The motion passes for the one-time permit. One-time
sir.
license, excuse me.
Thank you, gentlemen.
There is one last order of business. The board was sent a letter about an incident that happened on November 7th. I guess the summary of that letter is there may have been an individual doing electrical work under a master electrician, but this individual who was doing the work was not registered. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I think Mr. Harper is here. Sir, if you'd like to come up to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Harper, and when I was there, I did pulled the permit for a service, and that's pretty much all I did.
Who did the work?
I did,
You did it,
yes.
okay?
I did the work for the service. Now, any other work that was done in the house and stuff like that, that wasn't me.
Okay, was the permit for just a service?
Just the service.
That's correct, Sam?
Yeah. I actually have a copy of it here with me right now. It's just a service.
Okay, so you did the service and you left?
Excuse me?
You did the service on the house and you left?
Yes, yes.
And you got paid and you were done? Everything?
Yeah, I got paid. Well, I didn't get paid till, till I got the inspection.
Well, of course, but.
Right.
Right, so while you were there, the inspector says that there's new Romex in the basement. And this individual, who's this individual? Who's the individual, Sam?
I believe it is Peter. Yes, Peter. I don't know that.
Do you know who we're referencing, this Peter?
Yes, yes.
Does he work for you?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
He doesn't work for me.
Does he work for another electrician in town, or you don't?
I guess so, but.
I'm kind of confused. Why was he there? I mean, you know him, right?
I know of him because he was there the one time that I came there. And he was doing, I don't know what he was doing in the house, because there was another contractor there that supposedly did carpentry work and stuff like that. So I thought he was there doing that.
Oh, so this isn't someone you actually know, like, it's not your
No,
buddy?
No.
This is someone that was.
In fact, I just know him from this job here.
From the city?
From just meeting him on this job.
Oh, on that specific service?
Yes.
So, there was a general contractor there, is that what you're saying?
I don't know if he was a general, I didn't get to general contractor or anything like that. They were on their way out, and I came there to do the service.
Okay, so Peter, and was there anyone else with Peter, or was it just Peter?
It was just Peter at the time, yes.
Okay. So, Sam, did you talk to Peter?
Yeah.
And what did Peter say?
So, when I showed up there, I inspected the service. Inside the panel looked fine. I was gonna go outside, look at the meter, and then they painted the whole basement black. And that's normally a red flag when you start looking, because, people do that to high stuff. And I started catching glimpses of new Romex here and there, and new plumbing here and there. So I went up to talk to the homeowner, and she said that she was from, I think, California, wasn't in Erie. Her mom handled all the contracting going on. And as I'm looking around the house, I can see that everything's very fresh, very new. And turns out they said that 2 walls were removed, an island was put in, and she says they touched every bit of the house. So I said, okay, we got to talk to your mom. We got to find out who are these people and everything else. No more than 5 minutes later, Peter's knocking on the door. So the mom must have called him, I assume. And he comes in, and I said, okay, what's going on with the work here? And he told me that he was doing the work and this and that. And I said, okay, first things first, what permit are you using? He says, well, I'm under Tony Harper permit. I said, so you worked on the service? And he goes, I did the service. I said, okay. And then I said, what about the wiring in the house? Tony doesn't have anything on the permit for the wiring. He says, I didn't do any wiring in the house. There was no wiring. And I said, well, I can see there's 3 pendant lights where there was a wall that used to be here and a brand new island that never existed. And I'm going to open up this door right now and see the wire come up. Oh, wait, I did that. And then the lady says, well, he also did the bathroom. I went over the bathroom, there's new wiring over there. He goes, oh, now that I think about it, I did that too. And I said, I'm really confused. Where's your scope of work at? He says, I'm working under Tony's permit. I did some wiring in the house, mostly did the service. And then I'm asking the question about the service, and he couldn't answer them. And so I said, wait a minute, are you an apprentice or you're not an apprentice? He goes, I'm an apprentice. I said, what schooling program are you in right now? He either got kicked out or he quit. He's not in it right now. So at that point, I called Chris and said, we got some real red flags going on over here. And that was the only time he didn't leave me a voicemail. That is not in the paperwork you guys have.
I was trying to get it transcribed, but we got new phones. I have the voicemail still saved, but when we got new phones, I don't know how I can get that.
What is the contents of the voicemail?
The voicemail is from December 2nd, and it's from Peter. He said that he admitted to me that he admitted on that day that he did the work, but that was a lie. He said that he thought I would get him credit or something with me, but he said that he definitely did not think it was gonna turn into this, and he was not using Tony's permit.
Well, this is more drama than Judge Judy.
Welcome to my day.
All right, well, so you say that Peter doesn't work for you,
No.
yes? And you don't know him, really?
No.
Well, why would he
Just this job.
say that he was working under your license?
Because he met me
Oh,
there.
do you,
So,
okay. So, let's just keep.
Where's Peter?
Yeah, where,
We need Peter.
does anyone know Peter's last name? And he's not a registered apprentice, electrical apprentice?
He is not.
He's just Peter.
He apparently has a business, he told Sam, is it Save-A-Watt?
That's what I think.
Save a Watt?
I love it.
Save-A-Watt.
Save a watt.
Okay, well,
But he's not licensed with the city of Erie.
let's just make this really easy, okay? We don't really know what went on here for sure. Mr. Harper has a story, Peter has a story, Sam told us what he knows. So I think that, Mr. Harper, I think we're just gonna warn you, okay? Like, if you are sharing your license or pulling permits for other people, that's against the code. It's against the ordinance. And there's been people that have come before this board that have been in trouble for that, and they've had suspensions of their licenses, and it could escalate to a level where your license would be revoked. Okay, so
Yes.
I just want to make it crystal clear as the chair of this board that we're not going to, if you come back here because of something that happens with license sharing, it's not going to be good,
so I do.
okay?
Yes.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Harper? So, that's where we're at, okay?
Okay.
If you come back again because something happens, there's gonna be an issue. And your license will be at risk, so, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think that concludes,
There was no permit or building permit for hold this job, right? For this 3418 Washington?
I am not, do you know Sam?
I believe it was turned over to property maintenance. I think they may have reached out to Zach already, and I think they were gonna be calling the building inspector. Sometimes when it's early on, kind of get a game plan on what the next move is. But the name of the general contractor, I can't remember right now, but the name was nobody that the building inspector had heard of.
Peter. I don't know. It's Peter.
I'd just like to expound on that for a moment. Has the city sent anything to the homeowner stating that this was not done under a credentialed contractor?
So I did speak to the homeowner that day. I scared the living heck out of her. I didn't mean to, but she was very upset about it. I explained to her that, you know, it voids her insurance sometimes, different things like that. Tried to educate her the best I could. Then I said, let's get everybody, get our ducks in a row. I believe I notified property maintenance, who they're the ones who post the property at that point. But they probably wouldn't post it if the homeowner's there and they're not the ones who caused the issue. But the homeowner is aware that there are some issues with this not being inspected or approved. And I told her, I said, most likely drywall's gonna have to come down because we have to see what's behind the walls. We can't put things we can't see.
And the city has gone on record stating they have not inspected this work.
I have not inspected anything outside of Mr. Harper's service.
I would put a bow on this package and just document that you did not inspect, or no inspectors have been on that site because it wasn't a permitted project. So that if there is an issue and they come back, they can't say, well, the city inspectors were aware. I just would like to see that closed.
that's a very good suggestion. Is there any more discussion about this issue?
Mr. Harper would be issued a written warning? Christie?
Yes. Yes, as of today.
Okay. Any other discussion? Well, that concludes all of the business of the Trades Licensing Board for January 7th. If there's no objection, I'll take a motion to dismiss the meeting. Motion by Mr. Collins, seconded by Mr. Armstrong. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. See you in February.